All right, what's up, guys? We have another AnswerStock episode here with Maddie, the boy genius millionaire, and Tim Sykes, the old Jewish boy millionaire. How you doing this year so far, Maddie? How'd the first 2 weeks treating you?
This first 2 weeks are treating me pretty good. I'm up a little over 20K so far, shorting the S&P 500.
So $10,000 a week
So far, yeah.
in profits. So
Yep.
you listened to my last AnswerStock prediction saying that the markets would be down 5 to 10%.
Yes, but if you compare that to the chart I posted on December 30th on Twitter, you'll see a 40-year trend line in China being snapped. And that's
I
what caused the
retweeted
market.
that chart. That was a cool chart. Did you see
Right.
the chart comparing China to Japan? That's even scarier.
I haven't looked at that.
I'll post it later, but it's looking more and more likely that China is not the beast that we thought it was. It's just a cheap knockoff of a beast.
Exactly.
It's a fake beast. It's a feast.
Exactly. It's you got, they were basically bullshitting their numbers this whole time.
So I went to China a few years ago with the intent of, starting some businesses there, like, sell to 1% of the population and you're a billionaire. And I was so freaked out by what I saw there. They cut corners with everything. Did I tell you my maglev train story?
No.
So do you know what a maglev train is? You would actually like this.
Yeah. It uses two different magnets, so the train floats and then it moves.
And it goes back and forth between the two magnets. And It is so fast and so expensive and so cool. And so, my ex and I were in China. We wanted to take the maglev train. We were staying like at the Ritz downtown. We had to take like a 40-minute taxi just to get to the maglev train. And the taxi driver couldn't understand. Like, he's like, "Are you going to the airport?" And I'm like, "Yeah, we are going to the airport, but we want to take the maglev train to the airport." And he's like, "But the airport is like closer to the city. So why are you?" I was like, "Just take us to the maglev train." So we go to this wealthy suburb where the maglev train is. Why would you build the maglev train in a wealthy suburb, not like downtown? Guess why?
I don't know.
Because that's where their politicians live. The politicians built this fucking maglev train for themselves, and they ignored the whole city.
That makes sense. It's just like there's an empty city in China. It makes
so we took this maglev train. It was totally empty because it's just not convenient. No one from downtown uses it. There was only one other guy on the train. He was an American. We started talking with him. He actually does oil inspections. And he looked so old. He looked like their crypt keeper. And we were like, "What's going on?" And he's like, "Man, I spent the last 14 years in this country just going from different oil plant to oil plant." And he's like, "The things that I have seen that they try and pull to pass inspection," he said, like anything and everything. And he just looked so, weathered down from his job. So that's just one example. Then you have all the copying and, everyone's wearing these fake Crocs that they sell for like a penny. And like, they're probably giving all the Chinese people like foot problems because they're not real Crocs shoes. So bad stuff.
Yeah. For me, it's like in September, Ray Dalio, he's a big macro manager. He completely left the Chinese market before the September pull down. And if you looked at China's reserves, what they were spending and what they had in reserve was just like inversely correlated. And and that means that every time they have released a number, it was basically bullshit.
Somebody told me that you went to China to get a haircut and this is what you ended up with. And so, there's no actual legitimate hair cutters in China.
That's a true story, Tim. Of course, that's exactly what I would do.
So one possible economic comeback model would be to use all of this extra hair that they've been accumulating and build a factory with that hair. That would solve the country's crisis.
Right? It always comes back to that.
All right, let's take some questions from you guys. I'm up a few hundred, by the way. I'm up, I started my $12,000 account. I'm up like 600 in the first 2 weeks. The markets are down, like 6-7%. I'm up like 5%. I am trading very, very safely this year. And I encourage you, whether you're trading with 12,000 or 2,000 or a million, trade very safely. This is not the time to be a hero. Do you agree with that?
Oh, I completely agree.
There are times to push it. A few years ago, 2, 3 years ago, we were really pushing it where there was just amazing plays and you can get really aggressive because we were like in the meat of the bull market. We are not in the meat of the bull market. We might be getting to a bear market.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're almost there. So
I hope so. I had time to get a haircut. So
me too.
Actually, we did a TV show. You will see me, Michael Good, and another special unnamed student on this TV show. They actually gave Michael Good a haircut in the TV show's dressing room.
He let someone cut his hair?
Well, I asked the producer, I was like, how do you feel about having like a man Wolverine on the show? And the producer was like, what do you mean? And I was like, have you seen the movie Wolverine? And she's like,
I'm sorry, Mike. I'm sorry, dude.
She didn't understand. They called me during a live webinar. So I was like, how do you feel about, a guest who's not necessarily manscaped that well, but he's very smart and very wealthy? And they're like, well, we'll see what they can do. So they had a barber waiting for him at the TV show studio. They gave him a nice trim. Like it's crazy. He looks like he could be running for Congress.
I personally liked Michael's style, but that's just me.
It worked for Jesus for a little while. Let's see. We have a question here. This will go to Matt. Besides looking at, this is from Michael Davis from Maryland. Go Terps. Besides looking at recent press releases, how do you look into a stock and the E-minis to investigate further? What sources do you use? What is important to find out?
That is a loaded question.
Go Terps.
So for me, the E-mini S&P 500 is the main thing that I focus on trading. I try to, with some probability, predict the overall trend for the day, whether that be up or down or mean reversion. And then based on that, what I try to do is, let's say I think the S&P 500 may go up today based on my research. That would mean, if I was a stock trader and let's say I traded Apple, Facebook, Google, any of those that move with the S&P, which is about 75% of the stocks, then that will give me a directional bias. The truth is that besides penny stocks, nothing is really immune to macro markets. So if the S&P 500 goes down, the overall, any stock that you choose, Facebook, it doesn't matter about the company's fundamentals at that point. They all will shed just like the S&P 500. And that's what we're seeing right now. Has Apple, for example, hasn't changed their fundamentals. They still have $180 billion in cash just sitting there. So, but the overall macro market has tanked, and therefore Apple goes down with the overall macro market. So for me, I use the S&P 500 more if I'm going to trade a stock to time entry versus, just looking at a stock empirically. That's the best answer I can give.
Another question from Daniel. He says, I think this is for me. One of your rules is not to buy before earnings and conference calls, but what type of situations do you say are okay to hold in anticipation? I don't think you should hold in anticipation with earnings or conference calls. You don't know what they're going to say. They might drop a bomb on you. The stock will get halted if they say something really bad, thus rendering your stop losses irrelevant. I don't want to, open myself up to disaster. I think what a lot of people have learned from me the past 2 weeks is how cautiously I trade, whether I go big or have a small position. When I have such a small account, every dollar is precious to me. And I'm not talking about saving $3 or $5 in commissions. I'm talking about the position. A position can change very quickly. So I trade very carefully. And when you can't quantify the risk, I can't trade it. So I don't know what they're going to say about earnings or an analyst conference call or something. So I can't trade it when there's potentially unlimited downside. What do you think, Matt?
Yeah, if you hold into earnings, you are gambling. That's bottom line. Anything.
Well, that's not necessarily that's not going to deter some people. You know, Powerball is gambling, and you can't cut losses quickly. So
that's a completely different story. But
did you buy Powerball tickets?
No. Hell
Good.
no.
Good man. Let's see. All right, so we have one more question from James H. He says, say, for example, you check the markets at the open and nothing tradable appears to be happening. What do you do? A, do you sit there the rest of the day and just keep watching and waiting? B, do you check back every hour? Or C, any other optimal strategy? What do you think, Matt?
Okay, so for this person, I mean, the opening is important, but just because one setup or nothing seems to be happening with one market doesn't mean that there's not something happening somewhere else. And also, too, if your plan for the day was to trade those three things and nothing, let's say, happens, let's say you want to trade like a stock, even the S&P 500 and gold, let's say that's what you're coming into the market with, and nothing happens on those, then you really shouldn't just be like, I have to trade today, I have to trade the next day, I have to do this, I have to do that. There should be no have tos. But the thing is that, you know, you have to be patient. You have to wait for your setup, and you need to also not try to find something every single day. There are some times in the market, even if you're a macro trader, where nothing happens, nothing. And so, but just by judging it by the opening, I don't think you can do that. You have to sit there, wait, I would say probably until like noon, and then you can make that judgment call.
Yeah, I think it depends on, you know, like what your schedule is, you know, what your goals are. Some people like trading, you know, every day, every hour. Some people like to wait for their trades. In this market, even though the overall market is fading, there seems to be a play pretty much every day near the market open. So I really encourage you, even if there's not something right at like 9:30 a.m. or 9:35 a.m., at least give it to like 9:45 or 10 a.m. Eastern, because some stuff might pop up. But midday, I mean, almost every midday I take off between like 11 a.m. and 1 p.m. Because you might find some breaking news that you'll miss, but most of the time you're just going to find choppy stocks, and you're going to either buy like a fake out or short like a fake down, and there's not as much volatility. If you really want to structure your day, trade the first hour of the day and the last hour of the day. I know a lot of traders that do that. It's not just about holding positions overnight or exiting overnight positions. Some people just buy whatever they think is hot right at like 9:30, sell it at 9:40 a.m., call it a day. Or maybe they buy something, you know, at 3:30 p.m. and sell it at like 3:50 p.m. Eastern. It's really about finding what style and what times work best for you, your personality and your schedule and your hair. So that's what I think.
I mean, overall, you can't fit the market into a box.
Well, you can try, but
Yeah.
The box might explode all over the place. You know, it's like packing a little baby dinosaur in a box. You're like, get in there. But then the raptor bites off your finger and there's blood flowing everywhere. And you're like, well, that's what you get for trying to.
You have such a creative imagination.
I'm
serious. Your analogies are incredible sometimes.
It's just putting a baby dinosaur in a box. Why is that so?
No, I mean, like last week you had
the Battle of Helm's Deep.
You had Helm's Deep, like out of nowhere, right field. Like
that's what I think of when I see like a wall of buyers or a wall of sellers on level 2.
No, it's a good thing.
This is because I'm totally self-taught and I watch movies. I used to like try not to trade and I would watch a movie a day, but then I've seen all the good movies, so there's nothing left.
It's understandable. That was a good analogy, though.
Thank you. Much appreciated.
For real.
This was another AnswerStock. Again, if you have questions for us, email admin@timothysykes.com. We will catch you next week. Please stay safe in this market. Don't be a CNBC sucker.
Peace.